Unlock this door. Have you lost your mind? They're probably saying that on the other side of this thick door, but I can't hear them, and frankly, I don't need their forgiveness. Facing the three flustered fools on the other side, I waved with a smile and said, "Let's go. Wonder if you can make it back safely. Good luck." My name is Leah, a 30-year-old officer worker. I'm a newlywed, married for just a year with no kids yet. Back when I was single, my hobby was taking day trips using the train on my days off. Friends would ask, "Don't you get lonely traveling alone?" But I found it surprisingly pleasant to move at my own pace without a fixed schedule. There's a bit of loneliness, but the fun outweighs it. I have a favorite travel magazine, and sometimes I plan trips based on it. As I went about my days, I noticed something. Hug, isn't that the same guy I saw last week? It seemed coincidental, but after the third time, I might have thought it was fate if I were romantic. Instead, I just felt a bit scared, but it turned out he felt the same. Sorry if I'm mistaken, but didn't we meet last week and the week before at completely different places? He approached me with a slightly scared look. Wait, do you think I'm following you? To clear up the misunderstanding, I opened my travel magazine and confidently said, "I'm just traveling based on this magazine." Surprised, he responded, "Me too," and opened the same magazine, smiling happily. That's how I met my husband, Henry. He turned out to be a really interesting guy. Being cautious by nature, I always end up carrying a lot of stuff, but he said, "I always travel light so I can move easily. Nowadays, with cashless payments, you hardly need cash. A mobile phone is enough." He laughed joyfully. Talking with someone with such different values was very stimulating. We hit it off, discussing our favorite travel destinations and exchanged contacts. Though we both liked solo trips, we started going out together more often. Surprisingly, I enjoyed sharing memories with someone else, and I found that local food tastes even better when shared. One day, after about 6 months, Henry asked me to go out. I didn't feel bad at all. In fact, I felt the same way and remember being very happy. We decided to get married 6 months into our relationship. I thought our happy newlywed life was just beginning, but my expectations quickly shattered due to Henry's parents, Jack and Aaliyah. Their house is about a 30-minute drive from ours. They are still in their 50s, with Aaliyah working part-time, and both of them are employed. Initially, they used to visit our house, but lately, we've managed to maintain a reasonable distance. However, an incident occurred that disrupted this balance. "Hey, Henry, let's go here on our next day off." I agree, sounds good. Our post-marriage tradition of many trips to tourist spots continued as usual. Minimalist Henry recently reduced his belongings to just a mobile phone, even entrusting his wallet to me. It feels so light. I don't look like someone who's about to go out at all, do I? He said with a contented smile. I thought to myself, at least carry your own wallet. But it wasn't really a bother. It was an ordinary conversation, but that day was different. Oh, by the way, Dad and Mom's wedding anniversary is coming up soon. How about we invite my parents on our next trip? Henry's sudden suggestion made me tense up. Of course, there was a reason for that, but I couldn't just say no. So I responded, yeah, that sounds good. We haven't seen Aaliyah and Jack recently anyway. Unaware of my slightly strained face, Henry didn't notice a thing. The next day, they were really looking forward to it. When I called, he told me, I guess I have to give it my best shot. So I steeled myself. Honestly, I'm not comfortable around my parents-in-law. They're not bad people, we're just not a good fit. I'm more on the reserved side, not fond of noisy places, and this applies to people too. Talking to high-energy people can be mentally exhausting for me. Speaking of my parents-in-law, they are incredibly cheerful. When I first met them, their exuberance overwhelmed me. Nice to meet you. I'm Henry's mom, and I'm the dad. They announced loudly, like comedians, making me stiffen up involuntarily. That time, the four of us, including Henry and his parents, went out to eat, and they chose the restaurant. I wondered if it's their favorite place, but when we got there, It was an all-you-can-eat buffet. Meeting their son's girlfriend for the first time at such a casual place made me laugh. We're so nervous today. We haven't eaten anything since morning, Alia, who didn't seem nervous at all, said cheerfully to me. That's right, that's right. Plus, we have to get our money's worth. The true reason for skipping breakfast was quickly revealed by Jack. Their loud voices attracted quiet laughter from nearby tables. Embarrassed by then and wanting to go home, looking sideways, thinking Henry must feel the same, I was surprised to find he wasn't there. He had gone to get food. Not to be outdone, the parents-in-law also got up, piling their plates with food. Are they planning to hibernate after eating so much? Can I really become part of this family? I managed only a forced smile at their overwhelming presence. I barely ate that day, nervous as I was, feeling uncertain about the future with Henry. I was touched when they said at parting, "What a wonderful girlfriend Henry has. He may be awkward, but please take care of Henry from now on, Leia." I was simply happy to hear that. I loved him too, and I thought the parents-in-law weren't bad at heart. So, when he proposed a few months later, I faced no hesitation, but it turns out I'm not adept at judging people. At our wedding, the bridegroom's parents, my parents-in-law, completely disregarded the ceremony and focused solely on eating, leaving my own parents utterly disillusioned. Henry has a brother, Jonathan, who seemed to be the only sensible one. I'm sorry my parents showed such an embarrassing side. It's really shameful. Jonathan came to greet us politely. As I heard from my parents, Jonathan, who lives alone, seems to have a strained relationship with his parents. It appears the feeling is mutual, as they once complained. That boy is always so noisy with his complaints. Just the other day, he bragged about buying several eggs when it was limited to one per person. And I scolded him for it. Seemingly annoyed, he replied, "Don't you feel guilty about benefiting yourself at the expense of others?" Hearing this story, I thought to myself, isn't that a fair point? What's wrong with that, Aliyah? I honestly felt that way when the parents-in-law came to visit our new home. They arrived empty-handed, which wasn't a problem. But then they started rummaging through our shelves, exclaiming, "Isn't this the snack they're advertising on TV? I've been wanting to try it. Oh, and this one too." They foraged through my hidden snacks like they were on a treasure hunt. Even though I bought those snacks, Henry, without any malice, said, "If you want them, take them home. That's fine, right, Leia?" I wanted to smack him right then and there. All I could do was respond with a forced smile. I had a suspicion, but it was clear now. The parents-in-law were moochers. I want this, I want that, give me, give me. In the early days of our marriage, they came over every week, sensing an opportunity, and I was almost driven to neurosis. Hey, don't you think there's something off about Aliyah and Jack? They're kind of annoying. My anger exploded, and I ended up fighting with Henry. Despite how angry I was, Henry looked puzzled and said, "No, not really. Is it that strange? They've been like that since I was a kid. Don't worry about it," he said, patting my shoulder lightly, which made me furious. Are you kidding me? If this keeps up, I'll divorce you. Just do whatever you want. My raised voice seemed to alarm Henry, and he quickly put an end to the parents-in-law's invasions. I don't know what Henry said to them, but since then, we've been living peacefully. However, the thought of traveling with the parents-in-law naturally made me anxious on the day of the trip. I was taken aback to see them waiting. It's been a while, Lee. I heard you've been busy with work. Must be tough. Alia spoke to me, but I was far from calm. The reason lay in the appearance of the parents-in-law. Alia and Jack, where's your luggage? Looking closely, Alia and Jack had brought nothing with them, even for a day trip. Isn't it normal to bring at least a bag? We wanted to be ready to move quickly, and I have a sore shoulder. Their response echoed something I'd heard before, and it was baffling. The rest of the trip went as badly as I feared. It was soon revealed that the parents-in-law had forgotten their wallets. Feigning ignorance, they said, "That's strange, isn't it?" Watching them play dumb, I thought, maybe it's better to just call off this trip or even cancel it. Yeah, Unfortunately, my feelings weren't understood, Henry, looking exasperated, said again. My folks have always been like this. I'll cover for them, but make sure they pay me back. It seemed the trip would continue as the parents-in-law laughed and apologized. All I felt was disgust. Even after we arrived at our destination, the parents-in-law's rudeness didn't stop. They complained to the store staff. Isn't there any free tasting? Wow, stingy, huh? When I, feeling thirsty, bought a drink and hadn't even taken a sip yet, Alia said, "Can I have a sip of that? I'm thirsty too. I can't believe I forgot my wallet, huh?" While I forced a smile, an exasperated Henry intervened. "Stop it. It's embarrassing. Look, I'll buy you one." Overhearing this, Jack muttered under his breath, referring to me. What a stingy woman, lacking compassion. I didn't miss his comment. I could say the same to you. I should have left at that point, but I was a bit stubborn. A similar incident happened twice more afterward. Apparently, the first trip was so enjoyable that Alia contacted Henry for another. When I saw them on the station platform, I couldn't help but feel chills. The second time they brought their wallets, but when the moment came, oh no, this is the wallet I used before. I rushed out in such a hurry. Their obvious lie was something only Henry would believe. And on the third trip, they forgot their wallets again. By then, it was clear it was a deliberate act. Alia, excuse me, but did you deliberately forget your wallet? You never intended to pay, did you? I hit the nail on the head, and her face turned red. Hey, what a rude woman you are. Apologize to Alia. Jack glared at me, demanding an apology. No way. I've thought this for a long time. Both of you are just too greedy. Caught in the argument with the parents-in-law, Henry seemed at a loss. Tourists around us watched curiously, noticing their gaze. Henry seemed to feel ashamed and finally said, "Stop it, please," breaking down crying. I felt truly disillusioned, but the parents-in-law reacted differently. Rushing to a crying Henry, Alia said, "I'm sorry, Henry. It was my fault." "You're so kind to cry for me," with Jack quietly standing beside her. I didn't know how to react to this farce. Only one thought came to mind. Yeah, this is impossible. Let's get a divorce. That was all I could think, seeing Henry's tears. The parents-in-law seemed to lose their fighting spirit. Leah, we know we're often in the wrong. It's Henry's money. But still, we've taken advantage of him. It's Henry's money after all. I don't know why they said it twice, but their words, dripping with sarcasm, showed no real remorse. And so, it was confirmed that they had deliberately forgotten their wallets. Alia referred to it as Henry's money, but we both work, and his salary is only slightly higher than mine. Our actual incomes are not much different. Recently, every trip with the parents-in-law ended with, "I want to buy this too. Maybe some gifts for the neighbors as well." "What's that? Looks tasty. Hey, Henry, buy that for me." Because of their endless demands, Henry's credit card bills were shockingly high. We've been living mostly on my salary for the past few months. At the time of marriage, I considered it family money and believed in spending within the limits of our allowance for personal desires. Don't be a burden to your partner. The thing that infuriated me the most was when cashless reliant Henry exclaimed at our travel destination, "What, only cash here?" He called me over, pulled his wallet out of my bag. It only had a few dollars in coins. "No, I messed up. You know I don't carry cash, right?" he said without malice. It still makes me furious thinking about it. For the record, I'd always paid for my own things, yet the parents-in-law probably thought I was living off Henry's money and just complaining. We split living expenses, so such accusations were nothing but unpleasant. Thinking all this, I coldly watched Henry crying and Jack consoling him. After a moment of thought, I said, "I was wrong too. Sorry for being presumptuous. You guys go ahead on the train. I'll buy some drinks and follow." I smiled calmly, and Henry and the parents-in-law happily boarded the train. Their smiles turned to panic a few minutes later when I didn't return. Henry must have felt something was off as he messaged me, "Leah, are you coming? The train is about to leave." Right then, the heavy doors slowly closed from the platform. I had a clear view of Henry's panicked face. It seemed he noticed me and was shouting something. I was replying to his earlier message. I'm divorcing you. If your parents are so important, live happily with them. Goodbye. I ignored his calls, thinking, doesn't he care about being a nuisance on the train? Tease. He sent several messages afterward, but I ignored them all. Henry's face through the door slowly turned to anger. Hey, open this door. Are you crazy? I won't forgive you, he said, as if I needed his permission. The parents-in-law seemed to be yelling too, but of course, I couldn't hear them. Smiling at the three fools, I said, let's go, wonder if you'll make it back safely. Good luck. The train quietly departed, quickly disappearing from sight. That train won't stop for a while. Walking back would be quite a challenge. After watching the train leave, I hurried home to pack my bags and left. I stayed with a friend I'd been discussing divorce with. Henry's barrage of messages continued until they suddenly stopped. His phone must have died. He often forgot to charge it before bed, and it was only at 20% this morning. Portable battery chargers are essential. That was Henry's mantra. But his crucial portable battery charger was in my bag, along with his wallet. I left all the belongings he entrusted to me at home. He must be panicking by now, but that's not my concern. While planning my next steps with my friend, my mobile phone rang. The caller was unexpected. Jonathan, Henry's brother. Leah, I'm sorry. Did something happen? According to Jonathan, Henry's phone had run out of battery, and in his panic, he dropped it, shattering the screen. Unable to reach me, the desperate parents-in-law could only think of one person to call. So I got contacted, but all I got was, ask Leah for the reason. He seemed unwilling to say more. I told Jonathan everything about Henry and the parents-in-law without holding back. As I spoke, I could hear Jonathan's voice getting sharper over the phone from the other end. Leah's making a fool of us. Tell her off, Jonathan. The in-laws were loudly insisting that Jonathan, with his way with words, would outtalk me. After I finished explaining, Jonathan snapped, Hey, you scoundrel. Are you stupid? What, you scoundrel? I had heard from Aliyah that when Jonathan gets really angry, he becomes intimidating with a high-handed tone. And since Jonathan only speaks sense, Henry and the parents-in-law can't retort when he gets like that. I could hear the in-laws arguing in the background, but I quietly hung up the phone. Henry was not content with the divorce. But after I conveyed through a lawyer that I wanted to divorce without any further contact, he reluctantly agreed, accompanied by Jonathan. Later, Jonathan told me that the parents-in-law had always been terrible moochers, disliked by neighbors and even school associates. When Henry returned to the ex-in-law's house, he quickly became the talk of the neighborhood, and now all three hardly ever go out. Henry's colleagues, not knowing what to say about the quick divorce, were treating him like a delicate subject. I'm glad to cut ties with them after this incident, Jonathan told me with a laugh. The parents-in-law were known at the local supermarket for their outrageous behavior. This is expiring soon, so give me a discount. It's a little damaged, so I'll take it for free. Jonathan expressed his long-standing embarrassment and disdain for his parents' behavior. Recently, Henry has been seen joining them, reflecting their blood connection. It turned out the parents-in-law were both gambling addicts, often skimping on food expenses, which explained their constant hunger and lack of money. When asked about the reason for my divorce, I can only say it was a difference in values. If anyone can tolerate such behavior, they must be incredibly broad-minded. It was just too much for me. I've continued working and even started a side job as a web writer after my travel blog caught a publisher's attention. I still travel, combining it with writing assignments. Solo travel seems to suit me best. Last month, I earned a decent income from writing, so I'm planning to take a vacation to a resort somewhere far for relaxation. I'm still only 30 years old, life is just beginning.